Hello book lovers, welcome to Uncommon Reader. My name is Daniela. So today is the final video of my March book tag marathon. We made it. So today I'm having a bad hair day and I'm also annoyed with my ring light reflecting on my glasses. So I hope the natural light coming from the window will be enough. I want to be on my best behavior to do the Rock-On Celtic Songs Booktag created by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook. I was tagged by Stuart, Griffin, and Pat of Book Chat with Pat. So Nicole in her original video said, "Here's my original book tag involving rock songs and Celtic songs as bookish prompts. Let's do this." Prompt number 1, Drunken Lullabies by Flogging Molly, a book involving a celebration that you enjoyed. So I couldn't think of a specific book with a specific celebration, but doing some research among the reads that I did, one book stood out and is Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. Was made into a movie with the adorable Julia Roberts. And I think this is a great book for celebrating life because from her own experience, Gilbert was sharing her struggles as after her divorce. And so she decided to really put herself out there. And she took, I think, a year off and went traveling first to Italy, which she discovered the joys of eating. And then she spent some time in India, in an ashram, and that's the chapter dedicated to prayers. And the last one, Love, when she went to Bali and found love again. So I think it's a pretty good book for this prompt, don't you think? The second prompt, The Parting Glass by Ed Sheeran, a book that left you feeling bittersweet because it ended. So you get that feeling sometimes when you really love the book. And for me, it happened last year when I read The House of the Mosque. I have my Italian edition. I had rented this from the library actually, but I really wanted to have a copy at home. And by the way, this is autographed. And I will tell you more about my encounter with the author, Kader Abdullah, in my next video, which is going to be dedicated to my March favorites. Yes, I met him. Oh my gosh. So this is a beautiful family story in Tehran, right before and after the Iranian Revolution, when Khomeini went back into power. And so we see, the political and societal turmoil and also the dynamics in the family changes. Beautiful, beautiful characters and unforgettable book. Prompt number 3, Rebel Yell. Oh, I love that song by Billy Idol. A book you read because someone told you not to read it. I couldn't think of a book that somebody told me, do not read that book. But I could actually think of one that was such a major hype, but it had also so many people criticizing it. And that book is 50 Shades of Grey. Yes, I read that. It was kind of entertaining, but I'm like, definitely I wouldn't consider that literature, right? So prompt number 4, Starman by David Bowie, a sci-fi book about aliens. Okay, sorry, I didn't read many sci-fi, so this is kind of a spoiler though. You've seen this book before if you've been following my channel for a while. My favorite read of 2021, Project Hail Mary. And there's a movie in the works, so hopefully this book will have a revival when the movie will come up. Of course, the author is Andy Weir, author of The Martian, more successful, I think, than Project Hail Mary. Besides me, Sue the Book Banter, and some others, I don't see this book mentioned many times, but it's one of my favorite reads of all times. Moving on to prompt number 5, Shipping Up to Boston by Dropkick Murphys. Never heard of them. A fiction or nonfiction book set in or around Boston, Massachusetts. So I did have to do a little research of books set in Boston online, because on the top of my head, I couldn't remember. And the search came up with this book, the only one that I read from the ones that I found online. A book that I actually mentioned briefly in my earlier book tag, and it is The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. And this novel explores the immigrant experience following Gogol Ganguly, a first-generation Bengali American growing up in the Boston area. It dwells into themes of identity, belongings, and the clash of cultures, of course, with much of the story is set in Boston. This was also a beautiful movie that I really enjoyed, maybe from the 90s. I really don't remember, but maybe I'll add the info in the video here. Prompt number 6. The Bonnie Banks of Lochlomond. Lochlomond. A book that's centered around nature. So I'm going to mention this book that I read in March, and I'm going to be talking a little more on my future videos on my March reads later on. But I enjoyed The Roots of Heaven by Roman Gary, which is an author I discovered maybe a bit over a year ago. I really love his writing. This book won the Goncourt Prize in France in 1956. And this book is actually one of the first books where the environmental issues were brought to a large public. We have a man who's trying to save elephants from mass murder, because all these hunters in the 50s and even later on, they were trying to get to the elephant tusks so they could get rich with their ivory. Also in this book, there are beautiful descriptions of the landscapes of Africa. So I think it's a really great blend of animal activism and preserving the earth. And what a far-sighted author Roman Gary was to write about the subject that unfortunately was such a big issue for many, many decades to come. Prompt number 7, To Recruitin Sergeants by Seamus Kennedy, a fiction or non-fiction book about war. Well, I read a lot of books where war is in the subject. And actually, I thought about 2 books that I have here and that I've never spoken about. The author is Madeline Miller. Well, I knew I was going to get this wrong. It's actually Madeline Martin. I believe she's American, and she's a best-selling author of historical fiction. Both these books I read a couple of years ago, so I'm going to read the short synopsis. Here, I think I bought these books without knowing anything about it, just because of the word bookshop and librarian right here. But they turned out to be really good. So the first one, it's August 1939. London prepares for war as Hitler forces sweep across Europe. Grace Bennet has always dreamed of moving to the city, but the bunkers and drawn curtains that she finds on her arrival are not what she expected. And she certainly never imagined she'd wind up working at Primrose Hill, a dusty old bookshop nestled in the heart of London. Through blackouts and air raids as the Blitz intensifies, Grace discovers the power of storytelling to unite her community in ways she never dreamed, a force that triumphs over even the darkest nights of the war. This one was such a suspenseful book. I really, really enjoyed it. And the story has 2 female protagonists. Ava thought her job as a librarian at the Library of Congress would mean a quiet, routine existence, but an unexpected offer from the US military has brought her to Lisbon with a new mission, posing as a librarian while working undercover as a spy gathering intelligence. Meanwhile, in occupied France, Elaine has begun an apprenticeship at a printing press run by members of the resistance. It's a job usually reserved for men, but in the war, those rules were being forgotten. Yet she knows that the Nazis are searching for the press and its printer in order to silence them. As the battle in Europe rages, Ava and Elaine find themselves connecting through coded messages and discovering hope in the face of war. Love this book. Moving on, prompt number 8, Molly Malone by the Dubliners, a book with a badass female main character. So I thought about The Girls with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. The protagonist is Lisbeth Salander, who is a brilliant hacker with a dark past. And she is one of the most iconic badass female characters in thriller literature. Intelligent, tough, and unflinching in the face of injustice, Lisbeth uses a skill to expose dark secrets and fights back against those who have wronged her. It's a beautiful book. If you haven't read it and you love thrillers, this is the first one of a trilogy. I believe it's called The Millennium, and all the books are incredible. Prompt number 9. An Irish Pop Song by the Rumjacks, a book that is misunderstood. So again, I did a little research, and one book stood out for me, which is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, because misunderstood, especially when you compare it to the movies they make out of this book, which are totally disregarding the humanity of the creature Victor Frankenstein, the doctor, created. I don't know if you agree with me, but I started watching Frankenstein movies as a kid. So I had a total different idea from what the book would be like. And when I read the book a bit over a year ago, I was so moved by this creature that Victor Frankenstein created and then rejected. So I felt that it was such an injustice to the book, and that's why I feel the book is misunderstood, and I would love to see a remake of Frankenstein giving the creature some justice. What do you think? The 10th prompt on this tag is to tag somebody, but you know, it's the 30th today, so time is running out, so I won't put pressure any of my booktuber friends. But if you're watching this and you would like to participate even in April, please do. I thank you so much for spending time with me today. I appreciate your time and your support. I look forward to see you back here on Uncommon Reader soon to be seen my March favorites. Take care for now, and ciao!